What is not a deal breaker but would be greatly disappointing to find out about your partner? They can only sleep on the same side of the bed as I do and want me to switch sides. My husband and I naturally slept on different sides of the bed and it was fine for years, but we moved into a new house and the bed is facing a different direction, so I sleep closer to the door than the window and I want to switch sides because he was my sacrifice for intruders, but I can't just do that a decade into living together. It's just uncouth. My boyfriend and I have been together 11 years. I've had the same favorite TV show since before I met him, and he hates it. Obviously not a deal breaker, but it's pretty disappointing. I've had the same favorite TV show since before I met him, and he hates it. Obviously not a deal breaker, but it's pretty disappointing. When there's things they used to do with an ex but aren't interested in anymore. For example, I had an ex whose ex used to force them to do couples costumes at Halloween, etc. I had never had a serious BF before, and desperately wanted to do a couple's costume with him, but he was over it at that point and didn't want to. Sad face. I think this is something that I am glad that I never think myself. I'm a guy who was in a pretty abusive relationship for a long time, and while I experienced many things with that person, I was unhappy and not really feeling like myself during any of it. So, with my new girlfriend, it's like, sure, I've done that, but have I done it while happy? No. Let's do it. Things are just happier, and experiencing things I've experienced before feels completely new. Doesn't put bowls upside down in the dishwasher. They go to Target and throw doormats on the floor to look at them and then just walk away and leave them on the floor. Oddly specific, but very reasonable. Putting unwanted items back in the wrong place at the supermarket. My dad hates movies with subtitles. My mom is a foreign film buff. She has been trying to change him for decades. And while he'll sit through, and sometimes even enjoy, them on occasion, he'll still groan any time she suggests a movie with subtitles. The ultimate disappointing non-deal breaker. Edit. Okay, I'm just going to add this here before anyone else asks if my dad can read. He's an oncologist. He's not dumb. He can keep up with the subtitles and the subject matter. He just does so much reading for work. He goes through medical journals like crazy. He wants to relax with something silly and mindless that requires zero effort on his part. He feels the same way about tear-jerkers, another of my mom's favorites, where people die slowly from some awful disease. He gets enough of that shit at work. But he'll occasionally sit through them for my mom. We just watched the old Julia Roberts film, Dying Young, where she nurses/falls in love with a young guy dying of cancer, and for half the film he was just looking at my mom with an expression that clearly read, "Why the fuck would you do this to me?" When you're watching a TV series together and he or she watches an episode without you, that's a betrayal. My wife and I have 3 tiers of shows. Only watch together. One can watch ahead, but must be willing to go back and rewatch. Do what you want, I don't care. We are very explicit about which tier shows fall under. In college, watched the movie Donnie Darko for the first time, and when it ended, I had so many questions and was analyzing the meaning behind it. Tried to talk to my then boyfriend and he seemed disinterested. Finally, after a half hour, he says, "Can you please stop talking about it? It's just a movie. You are just supposed to enjoy it, not analyze it." Not a deal breaker, but a huge disappointment. Less so at my age, but that was a persistent issue when I was young, peers chastising me for having to overanalyze everything. I would frequently get that very complaint, that most movies are just to entertain me, not for me to deconstruct. But analyzing stuff is entertaining for me. I'm not even very smart, to be honest, I just like thinking about things. They run family 5Ks on Thanksgiving mornings. If they are a sock shoe person and not a sock shoe person. This exists? I'm shocked to my core. Sleep apnea. I know, it's not anyone's fault, let's get it sorted so we can both sleep though. If they have live, laugh, love around their home. If they don't love music. This is my life. My husband doesn't care for music. I love music. But thankfully he doesn't care if I play it all the time. He just tunes it out. The ironic thing is my husband has a beautiful singing voice, and a very strange ability to pick up sequences of notes he hears in anything and link it to a piece of classical music he's heard once or twice as a very small kid. He can recall song lyrics perfectly and replicate the tunes and shit perfectly after hearing a song once or twice. And I'm pretty sure he has perfect pitch, but he doesn't care enough to test it. All things utterly wasted on him. I can barely carry a tune in a bucket and I adore music. I've played multiple instruments and can read music and have been in multiple choirs, and making music is insanely difficult for me. It just isn't fair.